Thomas, and welcome to the Hope Doctors. I am so excited that you're joining us either through the podcast or maybe through YouTube. And each week we are going to share stories of hope and inspiration with you, with interviews with people around the country. I believe that hope is helping other people excel, and that's exactly what we plan to do through the Hope Doctors. Today is episode 1, and I am so excited to introduce to all of you one of my very dear friends who happens to be a legendary country music artist. You're going to hear from Pam Tillis today, and here's her stories of hope and inspiration and perseverance. We welcome you to the Hope Doctors. I could not be more excited for my very first guest. And you know what, Pam? You may not remember this, but it was probably, oh gosh, I don't know. It's over 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. I had heard one of your songs. I was teaching boot camp for divorced women. And I think it was on Thunder and Roses. Was that an album?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I think it was a song on that album. Mm-hmm. And I remember saying to myself, I need to meet Pam Tillis.
Oh my God.
And so it was one of those intuition things.
The universe has conspired.
The universe has conspired because my hand to God, the next day, UPS delivered a box at my door,
right,
and it had your name on it.
Yeah.
And you were my next door neighbor, and I had no idea that you were my next door neighbor. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, I forgot that part of it. You didn't know I was.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, right. I remember it now. Yeah.
And so we became friends
so
through
weird.
that, and it was that whole
So
intuition thing. And I know we've talked about it, but I wanted the audience to hear it too. How do you think intuition has guided you through this amazing career, and have you trusted that along the way to kind of guide you when you didn't know what else to do?
Yeah. My biggest successes as a singer and as a person have been when I listened to my gut.
I know.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this earlier, and that you have to take that time to be still and listen. And you said now reading is really something that's really, really important to you.
I'm sure this would look different for different people, but for me, if I can't read, if I can't track,
Right.
I realize that my brain is fragmented and it's not focused, so that's a way that I have of kind of taking my temperature. And if I can't pick up something and read it, I know that I've got to take some kind of steps to chill out.
Right, because you're still out there traveling. Yeah. How many dates a year are you still doing? A lot.
This year I don't know what it's going to be. The last few years, because you and I fly a lot.
Yes.
So if I have 80 dates, that can be upwards of 200 days gone.
Right.
Because it's a day to get there, it's a day to get back.
Right.
So it's a lot.
So you're out there just like I am, and you're giving your energy and your spirit and your encouragement to others. How do you restore that after you've put it out there? I know for me, it's important to be able to restore that in order to go out and give it again.
It is. It's really funny. I was having dinner with my sister last night, and she's an artist, and she's extreme. I am in a different way, but she's a visual artist. But she's got happy clutter.
I love that.
And it's
happy clutter.
Happy clutter.
I love it. Happy clutter.
And
do you have happy clutter? I have happy clutter.
Yeah, she's got happy clutter, and it's like a lot of I call it visual information.
Yes.
Now for me, believe it or not, I have to have things organized, and I have to have a happy zone of. Crystal helps me. We both have a gal that helps me
because I
don't come by that natural.
I was gonna say I don't have that natural.
No, I did not get that chip.
I didn't either.
I didn't. So,
that's why we're friends.
I know. I'm not. I'm the tornado. But if I can have my own house feel kind of zen,
right,
that really helps me.
Yes.
And I've gone through intensive gardening jags when I've had the time.
Right.
I haven't had that in a while, but I'm thinking about planting my garden again.
Awesome.
And I just started taking, they call them breathwork classes, where you go in and it's like you learn to be still by different kind of breath exercises.
Love that.
And
that's not for your singing, that's just for your soul.
Right. And so yoga, walking it the other day on Sunday. I had so much on my mind, I didn't know what to do first. And so I'm like, push pause, go walk.
Wow.
And
Push
so,
pause,
push pause,
go walk.
Yeah.
Man, that's good. Push, pause, go walk. Well, I know that a lot of people are so concerned about age and aging, and yes, we are the decade of 60s.
Yeah.
And we are celebrating it.
Yeah, you
not
gotta
fighting
own it.
from it. You gotta own it.
Because they can look it up on Wikipedia.
I know.
There's no hiding anymore.
I mean, I said the other day, we're not 60s, we're 30-30. We're so
Oh, I like that.
We're 40-40-20.
Yeah, right.
How has that been for you? Has it bothered you? You know, it hasn't really bothered me. I'm not pushing against it, and I am not following that old, you know, kind of what we thought. Do you remember thinking that your mama was old at 50? I mean, much less 60.
Well,
and I'm like, we're not that, are we?
Yeah, okay, this is very personal. I'll share this.
Thank you.
My dad and my mom split. Mom was 40.
Okay.
I didn't really realize that. You know,
I was 40 when I got divorced, so
Mom thought she was
old.
Because, you know, Daddy, everybody loves my daddy, but he was a man. He was a human man.
Right.
And he fell in love with a younger woman.
Okay.
This just happened.
Just happens.
And I don't judge my daddy either.
Right.
We're all human. We all have our foibles. And, but I remember that I didn't register. So Mom's narrative was, I'm old, I'm used up, I'm worn out. And I kind of absorbed that.
Wow.
As a young woman.
Sure.
Until 20 years later, I ran across a picture of okay, I'm going to try not to cry.
Right.
I ran across a picture of my mother at 40.
Oh.
And she was
gorgeous.
Golden.
Right.
And she was beautiful.
Wow.
And she was vibrant.
Wow.
And
but she didn't see herself that way, did she?
no.
And you know what? I think we still face that. In fact, I just saw something. I rarely watch the news, but I caught a little piece this morning of this precious little child getting her hair braided. She looked like she was 4, and so the girl that was doing her hair told her she was beautiful. And this baby gets tears in her eyes and says, "No, I'm ugly." And she's just 4 or 5 years old. Where are we getting this?
Right.
And what can you say, especially to women that are watching us right now, to help them alleviate that? What do you think? I think we talked about it before we came on camera. Probably the way that we are facing this aging thing is that we finally have grown into ourselves. We have embraced
Comfortable
who we
in our
are.
skin.
We're authentic and we're transparent. We country girls, we're proud of it. We are not organized. We have Crystal. Don't ask, you can't have Crystal.
Keep her busy.
We know our strengths, and we stay in that lane, but we don't beat ourselves up for the things we cannot do.
Right.
You know, I tell people all the time, if you're coming to see me, come anytime. If you come to see this house, you better make an appointment, because unless Crystal's been here, it probably looks like a ball went off.
No.
And for a long time, I beat myself up about that,
Yeah,
that
right.
there was something wrong with me. It's
Right.
just not my gift.
Right.
And
I
so
would say I didn't get that chip.
I did not get that chip. So how do we, as role models, and we talked about modeling, how do we model for women at every decade how to be happy in their own skin? Are there some ideas that you can share? You know, this is called the Hope Doctors because, you know, my acronym for HOPE is helping other people excel. So how do we deal a little hope with these women who are struggling with how they look, about what's going on in their life, like our mothers dealt with? What do you think we can say to them?
Just positive messages,
Right.
positive reinforcement, just simple. I have a trio. I go out with a full band, but a lot of times I'll go out with a trio. Believe it or not, we got an all-female trio.
I love it.
And the women that work with me are so young. If you haven't noticed, in show business, they're making this...
They make them younger every
younger
day.
and younger and younger. These women are totally accomplished, badass musicians.
Wow.
But they are really young.
How young, girl?
My fiddle player, violinist, fiddle player, She plays everything. She's 18.
Get out.
My
Awesome.
keyboard player, best I ever worked with, 24.
Wow, what a wonderful thing
Yeah,
that
no.
they are getting to try
And I'll
with
just
you.
catch them being overly
Critical
of themselves. They're trying everything, beauty, this is the age of makeup tutorials and everything, and
Right.
I get that.
Right.
But like, we had our picture made together recently, and one of the gals didn't have on a lot of makeup. And I'm like, do you see how beautiful you are?
Right.
Or, different things that they'll do that aren't maybe that healthy to be beautiful.
Right.
And I'll go, you don't need that.
Right.
You are not seeing, in other words, like what my mother didn't see,
Right.
how beautiful she was. She couldn't see it. And most of us, you asked me a question, but we were talking before the camera was
Yeah.
rolling. She goes, what's a message that you would give to your younger self?
Yeah, your 20-year-old self.
There again, I was full of bluster. I gave the appearance of, here I am, I'm at my peak, but inside, I did not realize that I had beauty.
Right.
That I was beautiful.
Right.
Let's just say it. I was beautiful. I could not see that.
Right.
Young women do not see that. But here's the catch. My 85-year-old self is going to look back and go, why did I not tell my 63-year-old self
Right.
that I was beautiful?
Right. Every day.
So we each need to hold our younger sisters up and go, right now, the way you are, it's enough.
And I call that speaking life. So if you're watching us right now, there's somebody in your world that needs you to speak life to them. And that's why I wrote this last book, Good Morning Gorgeous, and it simply came out of me saying that to a group of women. I asked a group of women, how many of you got up this morning and said, Good Morning Gorgeous? And there was, 400 women in the room and one man. Guess who raised their hand?
The man?
One man.
Oh my
The
God!
rest of the women said, no, I got up and went, oh, good God, what happened? But the men going, I'm fine, I'm hot.
Yeah,
Girls,
right.
we need to take a little lesson, and if you guys watching this, congratulations, y'all got it. But we need to, I think, stop women from using these words as weapons against themselves.
Oh
So
my
you're
gosh.
just
Yeah.
you're teaching this younger generation that's now on the road with you, you're catching them, and neither one of us had people to catch us.
Right.
I struggled with anorexia in my early 20s because I was trying to fit into a mold that I couldn't fit into because the image I had of myself was so different than the reality.
Right.
And so for those of us that are now in our 60s, I think it is our honor and our duty to speak life
Yeah.
to these young girls who don't see it. I know a lot of our audience may not know, and I remember when you were going through this, and you've cleared this with me. We can talk about this, but you had a health scare.
Oh,
That
more than a scare.
big health
More than a
scare.
scare.
Can you
Yeah.
tell our audience a little
Yeah,
bit about that?
Yeah. When everybody processes things in a different way. And
Process pain differently.
I want to say this. We do have a culture where everybody posts everything.
Right.
And I reserved the right for a long time. It's not that I don't want to be honest but I reserved the right to go through this chapter in my life privately.
Yeah, and we talked about you either go through it or grow through it, so you were growing through it
I had to grow
privately.
through it.
You had to grow through it.
I did, and I didn't want to capitalize on it or use it
No.
like in some kind of, but I'm a cancer survivor. And I will tell you though, it was down to the wire.
Oh, I remember us
yeah,
sitting
yeah.
and having breakfast together.
Yeah, it
I
was-
remember how scary this was.
It was down to the wire, and I got a false negative, so I ran around with cancer for a year and a half, way past when I should have been diagnosed.
Right.
And so I was stage 4, nearly died in treatment twice. I mean, I just really came completely face to face with my own mortality. And you don't just, that's not a post.
No.
And that's not, now I applaud people that take it, that's how they're wired, and they use that to lift others up, and I applaud those people.
Right.
For me, because, and it maybe had something to do with the fact that that's the second time in my life that I nearly died. And so it just hit me at a time when I really needed to pull.
You need to pull in.
I needed to pull in my oars, because also I had been living everything out.
Right. Right.
For a long time.
Right.
I had at that point in time, I want to say a 20-year career where everything was outward.
Everything's
And
exposed.
so y'all don't judge me, because I needed to pull me in.
No, I think it's amazing. And tell us, what were the things that got you through to the other side of that and to your healing, other than, of course, your treatment, mentally and emotionally? What did you do to help heal yourself, basically?
Well, you like stories.
I love stories.
I'll tell you a little story, and this is a little bit graphic, but
That's
not
okay.
too bad.
It's okay. It's a podcast. We can do it.
Talking about reading and everything, and so right at the moment that I was going into the heaviest part of my treatment, I was reading Eat, Pray, Love.
Oh, sure.
And
Elizabeth Gilbert.
Yeah, and she was talking about meditation and everything, and it was really how her life completely fell apart before she started putting it back together.
Right.
And so that was really resonating for me. And at the same time, I was trying to journal.
Yes.
And
I believe in that.
Yeah, no. And so one day I had, like, to me, happiness is having the bed. I'm in bed. Now I have my phone because I'm reading there too. And I've got my laptop, and I've got a book, and I've got a notebook.
That's right.
That's
happy.
Oh, and the dog at the bottom.
Of course it is.
That is real happiness.
Matt's not there.
That's in that's my happy world. And so that day I had read a little bit, and I wanted to write about it.
Yes.
And yet, so I had my journal open, and all of a sudden I felt like I'm going to be sick. And the journal was open beside my bed, and I got it, and I didn't make it.
You didn't make it?
And I just barfed on the pages, and I went, that's the entry
That's
for today.
There's the entry for today.
There
it is.
But the point is reflection is a real big part of self-healing, because everything is coming at us all the time. Everything's happening so fast. We're all crazy trying to be everything to all people. And if we don't take that time, you might not be facing, your demise, but in every day it's like a war of attrition. The world can wear you down.
Right.
And if you're not finding those little moments to pull in, you're not keeping yourself, we've got to practice self-healing. A lot of people can help us from the outside, and we all need those positive, like what you do is so important, but also you've got to find those moments to get in touch with your inner wisdom, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You've got to listen to your own soul and your own guidance, and whether you're facing cancer or whatever tragedy or just small things that you're facing. Maybe your kids are out of school right now because so many schools are out because of this virus. Whatever you're facing today, take that time out.
Yeah.
And I know that we both believe this, but like a basketball game or a football game, if the game is out of control, what does the coach call? The coach calls a time out. But we are not calling time out enough for ourselves, right?
Yeah. I'll tell you a little thing I stumbled on when I was sick is the power of baths.
Absolutely.
Like I'm thinking you were talking about mamas.
Yeah.
With the
Mamas
kids
and
home.
kids home.
Sometimes like
Calvin, take me away. Remember that?
Like you may have to sit while you're on the toilet. You may have to take those 3 deep breaths.
That's right.
And if that's the only moment you get, that might be it. Or going in your closet for a moment and going, I'm in here, I'm dressing, or in your car. But I just, I was taking baths, and they were long extended baths, and in the bathtub I would breathe.
Right.
Like I was telling you about taking some breathwork classes.
Yes, right.
And you can, I can't remember who told me this, but they said that you can totally replenish all the oxygen in your body in 3 minutes.
Wow.
You can shift your physiology in 3 minutes.
Wow.
So if you will really breathe deep, and being a singer, I'm kind of in touch with that, and taking some yoga in a little bit. A lot of people do not have any idea how to breathe. Like when I go to yoga class, and they'll say, okay, take a deep breath, and everybody else has finished the breath, and I'm like, hang on, I'm still breathing in. But if we can, so I would get in the bathtub and lay in there and breathe, so I would float. I could breathe enough to float to the top, and then I blew all my air out, and it would actually make me go to the bottom.
Wow.
And I made this up. So if anybody wants to try that, because you will float when you fully
release.
When you fully get your lungs full, you will kind of float. Your torso will float up.
Wow.
And then if you blow all the way
release
out, you will sink.
Wow.
And that way I could tell how I was really coming in and out of a deep breath. And it will shift your mental state, and it's that simple, and it's free.
And it's free, and you know what? That's where it's got to start. I've always said it's got to start between your ears. It's got to start where you're thinking and what you're believing and what you're telling yourself.
And find out what works for you.
And find out what works for you. I've always said, if you hear something or read something, if it doesn't ring true with you, it's not for you. Maybe it'll be for you later.
Right.
How long were you off the road? How long were you off the road when you were sick?
I wasn't off the road that long.
You
was
were
off for 4 months.
4 months.
Although I had 33 rounds of radiation.
33 rounds of radiation.
But I went back to work because I could.
Because you could. And because it's your love and it's your passion.
Yeah.
Now, you've got a new album that you're working on?
I do.
When will it be out? Tell us, what's the
new record will be out April 24th.
Okay.
And boy, we could talk so long because we were also talking earlier about being authentic and being yourself. And I don't think that's a thing that all these big issues that we talk about, you never get. Tell me if you feel this way. You don't ever get there.
No, it's
all these things are a framework that
every day,
and you go, yeah. And
every day.
In fact, I got a friend, Larry Gatlin, and
one of the best singers on earth.
Really, truly,
he is.
And he said a neat thing one day about his spiritual life.
Mm-hmm.
He says every day, he says, I get up and I have to dig Jesus up all over
I
again.
have to dig Jesus up all over again. I love it.
And the same thing with any kind of, whatever
that
you're working out.
Whatever your spiritual practice is, whatever brings you peace and whatever brings you back to that place of authenticity and transparency that we talked about.
That's right. And so you would think, she's coming at this 12th album from some kind of place of self-mastery. And I'm like, you know what it was?
What is self-mastery?
Yeah, right. What the record was for me is, as somebody who's been in the public eye for 30 years.
30 years.
How can I still silence that inner critic that says, this isn't good enough, this isn't somebody else's idea of who you are, or all of these things, and I go, how can you just do what your heart says to put out in the world? And so, and struggling with fear and everything, and
do y'all hear that? Even after 30 years of being one of the most successful artists out there, it's still there.
And sometimes
of course it is, because the pressure is higher because of the success you've had, and the comparison gets louder, and comparison is a thief. It will steal your joy, it will steal your creativity, because when you're thinking about what someone else is doing or what they're thinking about you, your eyes are off of what you were created to do. Do you have a song on there that is already your favorite?
Let me think about that. The whole promoting process is just starting.
Yes.
So I've been asked that with other records, but I haven't been asked that with this
first time.
Record.
Yay!
So, well, let's just talk about this. So, having been out there for 30 years, this kind of fits in with everything we're talking about. People through the years, for a long time it was snail mail, now it's all online.
Right.
But because you've been in people's cars on the radio,
cassette,
because you've been on their television, because they've had your CD as their tractor,
right.
or people have said you got me when I moved across the country, or has us moved into my dorm, or we fell.
I think you just heard while we were coming back from Mississippi the other day. I heard you at the gas station.
Right.
It was like, what about Memphis? Oh, wait, that's Pam.
So the point is, exactly. And so people think of you as somebody that they know.
Right.
I've shared my emotions with you.
Right.
You know me.
You know me.
And so I love that. I'm the girl next door wherever I go. And through the years, people have also shared their losses and their struggles.
I'm sure, and especially once you started talking about this challenge with cancer, I'm sure you started hearing story after story after story.
Yeah, or people will show up, I just lost my husband, but I needed to come to your show tonight. Or now that I've been talking about losing my parents, they'll tell me, they'll share that with me. So we wrote a song on the record I wrote a song called My Kind of Medicine.
Oh, I love
and
it.
It's not telling, do this, do this, do this, do this, but it was all the things that I find comfort in. And that was it, my kind of medicine. And it wasn't about, it's not a pill.
Right.
I don't need somebody else to tell me.
Right. Do this, do that.
It's about saddling up the horse, throwing the stick with my dog, watching an old movie for the 100th time, in a quiet time, reflecting, talking to God, talking to a close friend. Those are things that I find comfort in.
That's awesome.
And so that's one of my favorite songs.
So it's coming out April
24th.
April 24th. Name of the album?
Looking for a Feeling.
Oh!
Yeah.
What is that? Go
the album
just
is
a little bit deeper with that. Tell me about that.
Well, the album is it actually has a lot of, it's not your being older and wiser. It's got some philosophical underpinnings.
Good.
Doesn't mean it doesn't have a good beat and you can dance to it, but it's a thoughtful record. It's not a downer record, but it's a thoughtful record. And Looking for a Feeling is just about the human condition and the things we do to try to, in the words of Rolling Stones, find satisfaction.
Right.
What is that? Satisfaction also means trying to find your center. Right. Find a little peace in this world.
Right.
A little peace in this world is hard won.
Right.
It's hard fought for. It's hard won. And so that song is just about people in some of their maybe weaker moments trying to find but not I'm saying I'm not going to judge any of these people because I see myself in every character in this song, and they are looking for something.
Did you write every are you a writer on every song on the
I think I wrote 7 of the 11.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And I had to really, I gotta admit, I had to talk myself into that. Because I'm my own worst critic. And this album I haven't had this many songs on an album in years. I have a problem with that.
See? It never goes away.
And I finally said, I don't care if these songs ever make the top 5. This is what's in my heart.
That's right.
This is what I need to express, and let the commercial chips fall where they may. This is what's in my head, and this is what's in my heart.
Oh, I love that. Now, I know you're going to need to go, and we'll wrap this up, but we're here in Nashville, and you were 1 block away from where the tornado touched down in East Nashville. Mm-hmm. What was going through that experience like? I know for all of us here in the city, it's been so heartbreaking to see what's happened, but it's also been so inspiring to see people come together like, ever before. And there, right down from your house, was the Basement East, and where it says, I believe in Nashville, which that part of that building is still standing. Yeah. What has it been like for you going through this experience in your own community?
It's been raw. It's been emotional.
Sure.
We got lucky. My house had minor damage. But the outpouring of love, I mean, honestly, the day after the tornado, there were 4,000 people that showed up in my neighborhood.
I know.
And said, and people came with buckets and brooms and chainsaws and work gloves and water, sandwiches. I've never seen anything like that. Well, I take that back. I mean, this was in some ways even more intense than the flood.
And the flood
was
Absolutely,
bad.
The flood was bad.
But we have a saying here, and we don't own this, but Nashville is a very compassionate town.
Yes, it is.
And we say Nashville's strong.
You know, we were talking about the volunteers, 4,000 of them came into your community, and what struck me across our state, actually, people, they had to start signing up volunteers because they had so many.
They had to organize it,
They had to organize the volunteers
because
they had so many of people helping people, and that's what we're all about here in the state of Tennessee.
It is going to take it, though.
It is.
It is going to take every bit of it. And what we just have to remind people is, anytime you encounter a disaster like that, it is a marathon and not a sprint.
Right.
So what I'm hoping is that people will
continue,
not go on to the next thing and forget, because this is going to be a period of a couple years.
Right. Oh, at least.
At least.
You know, I saw something last night I thought was hilarious. It's some guys, and I don't know if it was down in your neighborhood. They put a tarp on top of a house, and it said, "We need beer." And so they were working on the houses, and so all of these people showed up with beer to help them. So it's just people asking people.
It warms the heart. Chills the beer and warms the heart. Yeah.
And you know what? I think that's, and we'll close out, but I want to know what you think about this. Women have a hard time asking for help. I think we, so many times, I always say we expect especially men to read our minds and they don't want to, but we're not asking for help. And you know, we see this disaster and people are willing to ask for help. So I think as women, and you know, we're guilty, we're here in the same town, our lives are busy, and we're just talking about off camera that, you know, we're going to start being there for each other, and we need to ask for help. Has that been a little hard for you along the way, as it has been for me?
You know, yes. And I attribute that to two things. The nuclear family idea is there's you know, mommy, daddy, kids. That's a good blueprint for raising babies.
Right.
But what we need to look beyond. I think I've got. Speaking of not being perfect, I've got some stray thing going.
What? I don't see it.
Anyway, I feel it. But we need to. Social life is modern life is so isolating.
Yes.
And loneliness is an epidemic.
It's an epidemic.
And we need community. Like remember coffee clutches?
Oh yeah.
And
I thought about that forever.
And like, you know, and when houses were smaller and people gathered, you'd have 11 people in a little bitty kitchen, and it felt right.
And they'd come over for supper, as we'd say in the South.
Supper, come over for supper. So not being afraid, being afraid to ask for help is a feature of, if you're just looking across the fence at your neighbor and it looks like she's got it all together.
Right.
And in social media, we're all presenting our best lives.
Right, and it's not that comparison. A lot.
Yeah, and so it makes you feel like I've said this to Crystal, we talked about
my niece,
the gal that helps us.
Yes.
Because we both travel and we need help, damn it.
We do need help, damn
it. And anyway, and I say to Crystal sometimes, I go, does everybody else have this much trouble staying organized, and why do I feel...
And she says, oh wait, you should see Dale's closet. I know she does. I know she busts me out. Because she busts me out, because I go, oh, there's 3 CDs dumped in my closet.
Yeah, I just feel like, why am I struggling with this? But the secret is we'll probably...
See, I'm good for you, because she goes, no, Dale's worse.
It's all right, it's all right.
It's all right, Dale's worse.
We're just... perfection just... there's a saying, I won't bother telling you where it came from, but that ain't no part of nothing.
That ain't no part of nothing. I love it. You know, I used to hear, I'm sure you've heard it too. It's normal is just that cycle on your dryer. What is that? What is normal? We never did normal. We don't do normal.
The sooner we kick those concepts out of our,
right.
you know.
Well, as we close out, because this is about hope, what one word or just talk, whatever you want to say, to somebody that's watching us that is feeling a little hopeless today? Just talk a little bit about hope or what it means to you or your definition of hope and anything about that.
I haven't touched on mortality
Right.
a couple of times in this
Right.
conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. You came door to door with it.
Every day that you wake up,
Yep.
every day that the sun comes up,
Right.
we talked about breathing.
Right.
Every day that every breath is an opportunity. And
To say thank you.
to say thank you, and every moment that you're alive there's the possibility
Right.
of somebody crossing your path
Right.
that's going to make a difference in your life.
Right.
Something coming to you, because I do believe in a benevolent universe.
Mm-hmm.
If you just open up to it,
And I think exactly
hope is coming up every day just like the sun.
I love that. That's our phrase of the day. Hope is coming up every day just like the sun. But you said it earlier. If we're so caught up in this comparison, talking down about ourselves, so covered in worry and fear, we're not paying attention to that moment and that message of hope, that person that's going to help you, that person who wants to help you is going to cross your path. But if you're not looking for it, if you're not paying attention to that moment, I believe you will miss it. And it's being sent to you every day. I can't thank you enough. I am so happy that
we
you
did
were
it
this month because of the virus. Okay, tell our audience how they can find the new record. Does it come to PamTillis.com?
Yeah, and all the streaming platforms.
And all the streaming
platforms. The way people get music now.
Right, and so you're on Instagram.
Instagram, Pam Tillis official music page.
Official music page, because all these big stars have all these fake pages out there.
Pandora, Spotify, all those streaming places, iTunes, Apple, whatever, Google.
Is your schedule on PamTillis.com? So go out, see Pam Tillis live. She's one of the greatest human beings. I'm not going to cry. I have waterproof mascara. I am so thrilled not only to call you my friend, you're my soul sister.
Oh, Dale.
You are my soul sister.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm going to hug you. I love you.
And thank you for what you do, because you do it because you care.
Awesome.
And you do it because you're showing up in the world, and that's all any of us can do is show up with our best selves.
We're hope dealers. That's what we are. So thank you for joining us. Episode 1 of the Hope Doctors in the books. Bye, y'all. God bless you.